Hi, my name is Caleb, and I'll be giving my final speech on the Florida International University Bridge collapse. So in 2018, the university was installing a pedestrian bridge that would cross over the Southwest 8th Street. The bridge was designed by FIG engineers and was constructed by Manila Construction Management. The bridge had an overall unique design. It was going to look like a cable-stayed bridge, but its main support would come from the truss section of the bridge. The bridge was being constructed in the construction yard next to the street to have the least amount of impact on traffic as possible, and then the bridge was going to be moved over the roadway. Before being moved over the roadway, the construction company reached out to FIG about some minor cracking around diagonal member 11. FIG said that this cracking was to be expected and to follow through with the plans. Once the bridge was placed over the roadway, a structural technology company came out and detensioned the diagonal members. Once diagonal member 11 was detensioned, the cracks significantly increased in size and were documented to be 40 times larger than the accepted size in such a structure. FIG sent out an engineer of record, an EOR, out to the site to monitor and just check in on the progress of the cracks, and the EOR stated that the cracks were concerning but was still no threat to safety, and they were coming up with a solution. Their solution was to retension diagonal member 11, and this would hope to reverse some of the damage and stop the cracking from spreading even more. But the structural technology company could not return until 3 days later, so the bridge sat over the roadway for 3 days until on the 5th day of being placed over the roadway, it collapsed, killing 6 people and injuring 8 others. A significant decision in this case that was made was to leave the bridge over the roadway and leave the roadway open after the cracks were considered significant, 40 times larger than the accepted size, and after the structural technology company wouldn't even be able to come out and address the cracks until 3 days later. This is a huge, significant decision that ultimately led to the collapse of the bridge. Another decision that was significant in this bridge was the design process. Since the bridge's main support was coming from the truss section of the bridge, the truss section should have been a little bit more redundant. The truss section only had one row of diagonal members, which is no redundancy at all. If one of the members failed, then the rest of the bridge would fail, and that's what happened. Some values that these engineers had were values of the new design and keeping the bridge over the roadway. So with the new design, this bridge was going to be greatly appreciated once completed, just because of the significance of the new design. It had never been seen and done before. And then keeping the bridge over the roadway relates to the time and money. Once the bridge got over the roadway, they didn't want to have to backtrack once the cracks were significant. They wanted to come up with any and every solution to try to keep the bridge over the roadway and just reverse some of the damage on the bridge, because if they removed it from the roadway, this would have been extended time before the completion date, and it would have cost more money to keep the construction crew out and moving the bridge back and forth, and it overall would have just costed some more money. So some better decisions or actions that could have been made in this case were, first and most importantly, to close the roadway and remove the bridge from the road after the cracks were considered significant and 40 times larger than the accepted size. And that's because the structural technology crew could not come out until 3 days later. And so the bridge sat there for 3 days while the cracks continued to grow. This is a huge issue, and I think a better decision would have obviously been to remove the bridge and close the road, since they couldn't address the cracks immediately. This could have saved the lives of 6 people and prevented the injuries of 8 others. Another better decision that could have been made was to add some redundancy to the bridge. Maybe add a second row of diagonal members to the truss section, or maybe make the cable stays and center pylon a load bearing to add a little bit more structural support to the bridge. Some better values in this case, I think, could be better values of safety. The safety was ignored as soon as the FIG engineers decided to leave the bridge where it was for 3 days with nobody coming out to address the cracks, because the cracks continually increased and FIG just kept ensuring that the bridge was no threat to safety. And I just feel like the values were more focused on keeping the bridge over the road and not backtracking and focusing on the new design, and the values of safety slipped their mind. I don't think the values of safety was intentionally disregarded. It's just, this is a perfect example of how easy it can be seen that the values of safety can slip the minds of somebody in such a large major project. Some value lessons in this case that can be learned is to stand up and take initiative. FIG engineers were like the lead decisions on this case, and whenever they were making their decisions saying that the bridge was still sound and the cracks were not a threat to safety, I think most of the other parties just kind of followed in their direction. When there was a couple of other parties on this project that had the knowledge and the power to declare the bridge is unsafe and remove it and close the roadway. But I think since FIG was the leading deciding factor, most of the people just agreed with what they were saying. But it's obvious that the moral and ethical values were questioned during this case, and they should have been able to declare the bridge is unsafe and override FIG's decisions in this case.